Over the last few weeks, protests and riots have broken out across cities from Minneapolis to London, initially sparked due to the murder of George Floyd by a police officer. Today, many previous IdeoLogs from previous videos will come on and share their opinions about the event. First, Fizzy The Mutualist.
The Minneapolis riots are the result of years of social tension between common people and the police force. No matter what has happened in the riots, the base reason for why they've happened was sensible considering the political climate we live in today under the Trump administration, where state power is being heightened drastically in adversity to political dissent. Personally, I think the riots are neither inherently good or bad, but again, the reason why they happened is perfectly justifiable in regards to the horrible acts of violence police forces have been able to get away with in America.
Assault, arson, drug use, etc. Suffice to say, we don't like government police. There are structural incentives for police to act the way they do. For example, they are government agents, and if they are indicted on criminal charges by the government, brought before a government judge with a government prosecutor, well, the conflict of interest should be obvious. It's not such a problem of some police are crooked that some conservatives, particularly on Fox News, like to push as a way to dismiss the issue. All cops take an oath to enforce unjust legislation, as in all legislation. Either the cop does follow their oath, in which case they're a bad person by victimizing innocent people, making them a bad cop, or they do not follow their oath, in which case they're not doing their job. They may be a good person, but they're a bad cop. All cops are bad cops. George Floyd's death was horrific, and it should not have occurred but for psychotic, power-tripping government agents who never feel safe unless a suspect is literally dying. But that said, let's talk about the riots themselves, because things are not as they seem. From what I have heard, keep in mind I am not a witness, protests were and are usually peaceful, but police deploy tear gas, use beanbag and rubber bullets, and other violent and even deadly riot suppression tactics in obvious provocations. We have numerous videos of police plainclothes, undercover, and uniformed, breaking windows, putting graffiti on businesses to have them targeted for looting, causing property damage, etc. as a justification for cops to escalate the engagement. To say nothing of these mysterious pallets that are appearing in city after city after city, piled with bricks for the rioters nowhere near construction zones. Nobody has any idea where they came from, save that the first instance of these pallets appearing were advertised to rioters by Dallas police. We also have to address the utterly duplicitous and barbaric actions of police officers, with videos of them kneeling in solidarity with protests behind their own lines, much to the joy of protesters, only to begin firing on protesters with tear gas and rubber bullets shortly after. There is also another incident of volunteer medics being asked by police to bring severely injured protesters to safety behind the police line, only for the police to begin shooting at the medics. But if I were to list every incident of police aggression about these riots, I'd be here all day. It goes without saying that I do not condone property damage, looting, rioting, etc. If they wanted to fund the police, demanding it on the streets and holding up signs is not the way to do so. Counter-economic activities that deprive the state not only of tax revenue, but of the collateral which they need to make loans has the added bonus of defunding local police departments, in addition to being insanely profitable for its participants. Violence is not welcome in any social order, least of all an anarchist one. All this looting and destruction will do is bring about a massive police state. The best that will happen is a return to this facsimile of domestic tranquility that our rulers laughably call civility. But the frustration building over the decades will remain. Frustrations caused by decades of injustice, added upon by the hilariously ineffective coronavirus lockdowns that have plunged millions of people into unemployment, and the economy into a centrally planned controlled demolition of the economy. Here's what I think this is all about. We know the government is deliberately provoking this and keeping the riots going. This is directly following the coronavirus scamdemic and the lockdowns, which have been devastating businesses, small, medium, and large. In addition to being used as a justification for an even larger and more powerful police state, I suspect the government is going to use the twin crises of the riots and lockdowns to justify a massive financial bailout to businesses. Now, what will be different about this one? it will be conditional on businesses accepting a new government-built payment processing system that accepts a digital fiat currency created by the Federal Reserve. This is important because if the US government can implement a digital currency, it means the only limit to their ability to inflate their way out of debt and budget deficits is how many times they can add digits onto a computer screen. Something they absolutely have to do as the global financial system falls apart and central banks around the world spiral into default. Furthermore, the federal digital currency will be spyware, monitoring every transaction you engage in while making it that much harder to avoid taxes. After all, they can just deduct what they want from your account without you ever knowing. A digital US currency, in addition to a larger police state. That's what this is all about, I think. On the plus side, if they're that desperate, it means the state's days are numbered.
Finally, Deniz Muratlī for a more left-wing perspective.
Riots that were sparked by the horrible murder of George Floyd indicate the deep-seated resentment of the people that is not only against this humane act, but decades of injustice. The long history of police brutality, people's lack of access to affordable education, starvation wages, lack of universal health care, mass incarceration, racist politicians and the justice system, lack of opportunities, the bi-party system in which both parties pursue almost identical policies, etc., constitute what's underneath the tip of the iceberg. It can't be said that all of the rioters are left-wing protesters. Like in most mass movements, most people participating in the protests don't subscribe to a particular ideology, but are acting out of frustration with the system, giving a natural reaction. Nevertheless, it is precisely in these movements that people radicalize, and it is certainly the task of every socialist to use this opportunity to create mass consciousness, encouraging the protesters to use their anger to bring about a socialist revolution, to create a new society. Of course, no one can say whether this will be the course of events. As much as I hope it to be so, I don't think the socialist movement in the US is organized sufficiently to succeed. Either way, nothing will be the same after these riots. People will be more conscious, and it should help accelerate the socialist organizing efforts.
Thank you to all of them for coming on. You can find their links in the description below. If you like this new kind of video, please leave a like and comment about your thoughts on the protests and riots. The old videos will also continue as normal. Goodbye.